Right.
So we are live.
Well, see what happens. You want me to respond?
No, I did.
You know what you're doing over here?
Okay, Mayor, as soon as you are ready, we are live and
Call meeting to order. Roll call, please.
absolutely. Okay, Mike Hayes.
Here.
Jennifer Watkins.
Here.
Chris Hunt.
Here.
Kit Williams.
Here.
Stu Schultz.
Here.
Angel Ramsey.
I am here.
We do have a couple of participants online this evening.
I'd make a note in minutes that City Attorney Rob Lane's also attending
Yes.
remotely tonight.
Mhm.
Couple of things before we get started tonight. We're not going to have any open public comment tonight, simply because this is a special meeting and a work session. We're going to follow the agenda as it's presented. There's nothing on here that requires a comment at this point. Everybody have a chance to review the consent agenda?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, motion
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
second. Drew? Seconded by Drew. All in favor? Angel?
Agree.
Okay. Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Old business 309 Main.
Okay,
I'm
council.
assuming since I don't see Lisa, you're handling that?
Yes, yes, and I'll be giving you an update. Let me start my recording for notes purposes. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? We'll do that in a little bit. Okay. Well, council, you had invited or asked staff to get some quotes for structural engineering work at 309 Main. This is one of two tracks we're continuing to pursue with this project. One track says we might need to demo it. The other track says there could be grant funding available to fix it up and revitalize downtown. So council had first asked, now that preliminary construction is complete, for an engineer's assessment and what that would cost to have that. And then second, for information on what it would run to build a demo quote that would give specifications that contractors could build to for purposes of if demo becomes necessary. And so as I reached out to JEO that serves as our city engineer, Brad Shores is here this evening. They actually had a few different options varied in price range on the engineering piece for the demo packages. And
You gotta
so,
accept somebody in there.
sure, I wanted to,
In the room.
that should be Rob. Thank you. And so I wanted to let Brad share a little bit about the structural assessment and then your options with the demo opportunities.
Okay, so the first bullet, the structural inspection, that's pretty straightforward. I'd come out, do visual inspection. I'm a structural engineer that does bridges, but I rely on guys that live in the building world, that do repairs, that do new construction. So I would take a lot of photos. I may FaceTime them out there. Obviously, I would need access inside because that's where most of the work was done. So I need to coordinate that with the city and the building owner to get out there, take photos. I would then take my notes, circle back with my staff, review what we've seen. Perhaps we are making recommendations that we're not approving, or maybe we're writing an official memo to you guys saying that, because we have already reviewed the engineering drawings, so as long as they've constructed it as per the engineering drawings, we should be fine. So that's a fairly straightforward process. We're proposing that we just charge you hourly with a not to exceed of $1,000.
What's the hourly rate?
Well, it varies. Mine is expensive. It's 300. Now, that's not everyone that would be charging it. There's some lower guys that would be charging.
That's not. Speaking of full cover, but that's cheap.
Any questions on? To me, that part's a little bit cleaner. That's pretty straightforward. Any questions on the inspection of what's been done so far? Then the next one's a little bit longer.
So you guys wouldn't exceed $1,000, so you don't think?
For that, we will not. If we go over, we eat it.
Okay, no, that's all right. We'll show.
Okay, so on the demo, and I'm gonna pivot, and I apologize, Sarah, but I have been talking more to my staff about this, so I'm gonna deviate just a little
That's
bit from
fine.
what's on your screen. So I've got this an infinite amount of options here. The most common approach, and I just verified this with my boss, who is a structural engineer, has been living in the building world for a long time. The most common approach, and our recommendation, but you have to be careful, you have to be comfortable with it, obviously. Whoever the contractor is that couldn't do the demo, they should propose what the demolition plan is to us. We will review it, and we will go back and forth. And at the end of the day, so much of it is means and methods. So much of it is making sure we have a competent demolition contractor. But we will review detailed procedure, make sure we are comfortable with it, and then that's it. As far as our role, there's been, Sarah's told me you guys have expressed, or some of you have expressed strong interest in engineered plans for a demolition. And I have 4 other options to kind of try and work through that. We design repairs and new. We don't design them. Honestly, I cannot come up. It's just so uncommon.
Nobody does it.
No one does it.
Right.
And the ones that do it, maybe shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Right? That's part of that too. So if you're comfortable with the first approach, man, I won't even walk you through 2 through 5. Maybe let's talk about the first one. So, because there's even a couple variables there. We, or the city, could follow up with you, because you've had 2 respondents to a bid already. So city or GAO we could start with the apparent low bidder, say, hey, submit us your plan. If it's just clear that we're not on the same page, we could go to the next bidder. And if that's not clear, then we could escalate from there. We could rebid more formally, have specifications, have a clear understanding of what we're looking for. Our hope is that we'd be able to, find common acceptable ground with one of the first 2 bidders. So I'm going to pause there and listen for questions.
I don't think we need anything past that at this point, but the one thing that I think we're actually looking for, and I wish I could see his face, because I usually know if I'm reading this right or not.
Yeah.
Is if we're actually looking at, is the building safe, or is the building, what was that other word? No, safe or stable. Thank you.
And the first bullet that we talked about,
Would
So-
take care of that.
well, it'll make sure that what's been done now is safe and stable. In other words, the repairs that were just done, that the building we're comfortable that the building should continue standing. And then with the demo process, we understand the sense of nature. You've got a building to the west that's maybe 3 feet away, and you're sharing a wall to the east with where I just had dinner. So we get the sensitive nature of this, that we want to protect those buildings.
So we've been told now that it's stable. That's what the report said from the county.
But the building, your building inspector.
Building inspector.
Yeah.
He
And
said it
we're
was stable, but he did not say it was safe.
interested. Okay. Well,
Did he not come out and say it's safe, or did he
No,
say
it
it's
doesn't
stable,
say-
but it's not safe?
Nope, he said it's stable.
But he never mentioned safe.
Right.
Okay,
But,
okay, okay.
and there's
and
no
your
reason we're
legal
asking that.
counsel is saying you want both of those magic
Yes.
words? You're making me walk into liability areas that I'm not.
Right.
Here, so.
That's where we are.
Yeah,
I'm willing to
sure.
do that.
If you, well, I don't either.
What? What?
And Angel says that we might be looking for the term like structurally sound.
That I'm much more comfortable with.
So we have a form last week, and it has to say it.
I'm looking.
I don't have my binder. I don't
This is
remember.
this is the one that we just got for this week, I think. I was.
Yeah, it's not in
That
that.
one.
Oh, okay.
I know which one you're talking about.
The dilapidation resolution,
Yes,
I can go
yeah,
pull
yeah.
that.
Can you?
Yes, I
'Cause
can
it
be right back.
says, and I'm not trying to put you in a spot,
No,
but there is some verbiage on there that we're gonna have to follow.
The last thing I want is them to come in and say, yeah, it's structurally sound. And then, and that's fine, but is it safe? And it's not, and something happens and.
It's beyond that. 'Cause
Okay,
there's a
correct.
paper-
Yeah.
There's a piece of paper, and I'll show you here in just a second. I know you weren't here
Okay,
last
found
week.
it.
I'm not making fun of you.
No, you're good.
Here we go.
Well,
Okay.
other side. This stuff.
Yeah, I think it's.
Dangerous
Oh,
and.
look at the backside of it.
Unsafe or dangerous.
Yeah.
Turn it over. That word, that,
We found it.
No.
that was 2 blocks, bro.
So this stuff
No,
works.
we
If
turned
we
them-
can't
yeah.
answer these,
Yeah,
then we can't move forward.
correct.
Here, this is a,
Unsafe or dangerous. Yeah,
not merely unsighted.
Yeah.
So that's our problem.
correct. And we've seen photos of the inside of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, yeah, okay.
So that's why I'm asking that
You
question.
might-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was gonna hand it to you too, and I handed her all of her stuff back on
Like
stuff.
those are pictures of
Was it? Yeah. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right here.
The structure is in.
I didn't keep that paper too long. Probably should have.
The one that, I need that back.
No, I don't.
Yes.
I just got the pictures, but I didn't keep that.
I'm gonna take a photo of it. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
My
can.
company gives me a lot of latitude to make decisions for the council, but you guys have me here, so I'm sorry, but I'm
Yes.
not going to commit to this without talking to.
No,
And Brad, I can send you as well.
Thank you.
that's why I'm asking that question. I know it sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
we don't wanna pay the money and then we didn't even get what we have to have in
it's
have
really, you're right. I mean,
that. And not saying you guys wouldn't, it's just,
that's what stopped me on, that's what stopped most of us last week.
Unsafe.
Yeah. So,
That
and
sentence.
I'll ask Sarah later, help me understand the context. This is if you're choosing to condemn.
I
Yes.
believe the kind of the framework for the question was the grant timeline could be fairly extensive. If things go through with the project, we could be looking at a year of environmental reviews and compliance things. And so trying to make sure that the construction that has been completed to date would be satisfactory for the building to not be a danger in that time frame while a grant could be working forward.
So the city gets on the hook for this language because they're saying
Right.
the building will not be unsafe during that waiting period.
Right.
And it's not just about it being unsightly, it's about being unsafe. It does
Right.
not say stable. And so that's,
Unsafe or dangerous.
that's where we got stuck at. And we're trying
Unsafe or
to,
dangerous.
Correct.
correct.
Okay,
right.
that's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
helpful.
And just me, and I'm not, I work for JO, I'm not a contractor, but that east wall that they share with Gambino's, that to me is the biggest
Absolutely.
deal as far as being unsafe. Last thing we wanted that to fall in while people are in there.
So just to be super clear, this issue actually does not pertain to the demo. It pertains to if this goes to grant, if this goes to repair. You
This
guys
is
are
prior.
taking some responsibility to make sure it's not unsafe or dangerous during that time.
So
Or-
this is prior to us being able to decide on either one of those.
Yeah.
Yes,
this is
even
the
if we
first
go to
bullet earlier,
demo.
this is the
Correct.
inspection.
Yeah, that's inspection.
That's good context. I feel like we could probably get there. I mean, and if this is CDBG, this is not the first time probably our company has even encountered this.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to make sure that was our first step. Because
So,
without that
yeah.
step, regardless of what you guys decide,
right.
without that step, we can't go any further on
Right.
anything.
So unfortunately, I'm not giving you a final answer there. I will move super fast with Sarah. Let's assume that JEO does believe that we could do a structural inspection for you that will satisfy this requirement. Then if we're good there, can we talk the second step then?
Absolutely.
So on the demo, are we okay with, how would you guys want me to proceed with the contract?
I'm good with that first option that you just presented.
The lowest bidder, and then if
That's,
they don't want to do it or can't do it, then we move on to the next.
well, yeah, so the
Yep.
lowest bidder and then he'll, or they,
They.
JEO will,
Quick question, how did we get 2 bids?
So when we first discussed this, we said rather than spending the money to try to have a professionally engineered plan, it might be more advantageous to reach out to contractors for demo. JEO provided us a list of contractors working in that space who we could reach out to. I think that other cities you serve
We
had.
talked to, I guess, an El Dorado. I don't remember which one gave us.
Mhm. And
Who
so,
they used.
My question, we didn't do a formal RFP. This was
No,
told people
no.
to say,
We had
give us a
told,
quote.
I
Okay.
believe, not this last week, but last month, I believe we had said that we wanted them to look out.
Correct. Yeah, we had asked for.
We had asked for
And
JEO
yes.
to kind of look, just so we had an idea of what a price would be.
And so Lisa had received 2 back from the contacts that she made. I believe those have been sent to you. And we had, part of our hesitation is that we had a very wide discrepancy in pricing between the 2. Likely one that maybe hasn't accounted for everything and one that might be providing for contingencies.
Yeah, so, and I should have answered this, Sarah. So the 2 that responded were from that list then. And so we already have other cities telling us they're using them. So there's some level of comfort, yes, in their competency. That encourages me as well.
So
Other than me.
my question is, so the first one here is, you meet with the lowest bidder, ask them to submit
Watch me.
proposed plan for demo, and we go from there. Step 2 here is next level approach would be for you guys to meet with both contractors on site to review their plans.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Do that?
If we're doing the first one, we're not doing the second.
Okay, now I guess what's
We're just
the,
giving different options.
Yeah.
If we can't come to a workable solution with the first 2 contractors, which is feeling unlikely,
okay,
then another step might be to do a formal bid. I'm not. Project is super important to Wanda. It is not as large and attractive project or contract.
Right.
So a formal bid might scare away the bigger contractors and the smaller contractors for different reasons.
okay.
So we'll really try to.
Will that be under an hourly rate as well or not?
Sorry,
Will that be under an hourly rate or do you have a flat fee for that other one?
for the second stage.
Yes, sir.
Good question.
Rob is raising his hand online.
Yep.
Could we give him a moment?
Brad, how do we get around the statutory requirement of putting it up for bid?
I am never an expert on, oftentimes it seems up to cities ordinances. We went to 3 qualified, so in a way we did put it out for bid, but we kind of pre-qualified 3 contractors. So I've seen many other cities do that in many different situations, and then there's some situations where they don't feel like they can do that. So I may not have a great answer for you, but we did go to 3 contractors.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought that you gave Towanda a list and we reached out and 2 people came back with numbers. We reached out to people on your list, 2 people came back with numbers, and then they were so wildly apart that they obviously weren't proposing the same scope.
That's the concern, correct? Yes. And so they just.
So,
yeah.
as a result, then I have to re-ask the question: how do we get around statutorily? I mean, putting the scope / project out for bid. It's not a specialized enough of a project to be a workaround statutorily. We also don't, pursuant to your first proposal, don't really have any kind of consensus as to what the scope entails. And so, just for the council's awareness, I think option 1 is a bad.
We're reaching out to contractors that have already responded and asking them to submit what is their plan? Do you think that's a bad process?
Yeah, because I think again, I apologize. I wasn't involved, I guess, in the process of, hey, here's our list of people that do this all the time that we worked with before, to want to reach out from that list. So I apologize in advance. I had no knowledge as to what kind of capacity that this list has. I think that as the governing body in this particular scenario, aside from the aside from the seriousness of the project, and all projects are serious, but especially this one with parallel tracks kind of going on here at the same time. Just putting that aside, I don't know how this governing body can do its duty and obligation to adequately and professionally, be a steward of taxable dollars without having a professional scope identified and then putting it out for a formal bid with lowest wins. I just don't know statutorily how you are proposing that the governing body get around it, number one. And again, now moving the seriousness of the project back into the scope, if the governing body were to choose that, I think that, excuse me, I think that with the magnification on the project itself, that would be a mistake on their part. So again, with respect, that's just my feedback, I guess, for the governing body, because when you don't have the demo plan in advance, even though I imagine that this shouldn't be a super complicated demo plan, that you have no reasonable belief that you're comparing apples to apples, none whatsoever. And I think that's evident by the two proposals that you got.
So Rob, with what you're saying, so the three outline options he has, the third one would be the city would move forward with requesting JEO design demo plan, and then they rebid and refine plans.
Yeah, let me give you another option. So one option would be, we help you put together a formal bid specifying that the contractor will be submitting a demolition plan, putting some language around what that would entail. And those same contractors would have to respond, but they would still have that opportunity to do that. And now they are being told, I guess, more upfront what the requirements are, if I understand Rob's point.
But we only have one option. I mean, based on what you just said, we have one option.
I mean, to put out a form.
So as far as going through, well, you don't have to. You only have to go through the last plan. I mean, because the second one, it just kicked kind of not against you, but right. So we might as well just go to the third plan.
So assuming we pass this inspection, then we will, and Sarah, what we might do is just call, I've never been at a city council where I've been trying to talk JEO out of less money.
I like it.
Yeah. Maybe we call up Augusta and El Dorado and ask what their procurement policy is for this kind of work and match that. And maybe they already have some bid documentation they just share, perhaps. If not, then we will have to talk to contract. JO can put together bid in. I mean, it's $5,000 for us just to start breathing on front end documents. So I'm trying to get you out of that, where we're putting together an entire bid package with a whole bunch of legal language that we paid for, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll reach out to the city, see what they do, and go from there.
Yeah.
That sounds good to council.
Augusta just did a bunch of demos on buildings.
They're doing monthly.
Pardon?
Almost monthly, it feels like.
Yeah. So
But maybe they've done a procurement policy where they put people on call. Maybe that's how they get around it. And then they can just call them and get bids.
And I might even be able to reach out to contacts in Wichita for additional contractors. I worked in a space adjacent to that. So.
All right, guys, I'm just saying, I mean, normally, and again, I'm sure, I would imagine some of these projects that you're referring to have shared walls, but in my experience, demoing a freestanding building is different than sharing something that's might have been precarious for several years now. And so I think the most prudent action is for a professional to develop the demo plan and then for contractors to bid the demo plan. And then if after a contractor is awarded the plan, if there's some value engineering or what have you that's to be done after that, then so be it, or some tweaks that have to be made. But in the world that I'm sometimes in, asking contractors to say, hey, give us a demo plan for this and a number for it is an absolute waste of time.
So Rob, I mean, you live in the building world more than I do, but my pushback is when you say professional demo plan, I don't have a short list, and I just talked to my boss who does do a lot of this stuff. There are not at least professional engineers around that are going to be super interested in putting a demo plan. My experience.
We want a plan. We want. I believe the city wants a plan that if Plan A falls through, that Plan B is to remove the remnants of that structure without collapsing the shared wall.
Correct.
And so I guess if there's nobody that's interested in doing that, I mean, I think that's what engineers do for a living. But if no one's interested in doing that, then we have a different issue.
Well, Rob, that's exactly where I'm pushing back. I do not think there is a short list of engineers interested in doing that. I get phone calls all the time on small building projects. Hey, I have to shore up this basement. I have to do this. I have to do that. The big companies like me, it's not worth us touching it. And the small one-off mom and pops, oftentimes the quality and experience is not there. Our experience and our normal, and maybe you weren't on yet when I was sharing this, is that the contractor is submitting their procedure, but it is getting reviewed by us. I do believe our team is competent in this area. We're reviewing the contractor's proposed demolition plan. We're asking them lots of hard questions. We're getting it documented in paper so that city staff can inspect it and enforce what has been agreed upon. I can think of one.
What you're talking about, Brad, what you're talking about is just a minimization of liability. That's all I'm hearing. If you're willing to review somebody else's plans and comment on them professionally, but not willing to draw them yourself when you guys are engineers, that's a problem.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, that's a liability problem. And now we're in my other world of legal liability aversion. So, I mean, that's the conflict that I'm having trouble squaring up. Is it if you're not willing to draw them up, but you want to comment on somebody else's drawings? Why? Is there a reason other than that just makes our insurance premium higher?
Well, okay. So the major reason that I would give you, and you're talking legalese, and I'm not very good at that, but it probably is liability. So much of this is contractor competency. We've already seen that with this building. Someone knocked down the front wall because they were lazy with their front loader. We could engineer the best plans in the world. If the contractor is incompetent, he's going to knock down that shared wall. Jay is going to get sued, even though our plans are perfect. And so I'm just telling you from my experience and everything I've been told, the normal in our practice is to review a submitted contractor's demolition plan. I am happy to go looking for an engineer to put that together. I'm confident that's not going to be an easy find.
Understood. And I guess, counsel, I'll just say this. I don't recall, and I don't have the experience that Brad does necessarily in this world, but there are certainly the people that he's referring to, but probably been somewhat directly involved in 30 demos, and I've never done one without a plan.
Just to be clear, you've had an engineered sealed plan set.
Yeah, we have demo plans. You betcha.
Okay, well, provide me.
I would love my construction company to do it without one.
Well, provide the name of the companies you're using, and we'll use them. That's fine. If that's what the city wants to do. And I would still argue that there isn't a real reason to have JEO review, because now typically, you tell me, typically our experience is the engineer is working with the contractor on means and methods. they may come up with a plan that might suit one contractor, but not another one's capabilities. So those two need to mesh up. And JEO then will be independent, advocating only on behalf of the city, reviewing that engineered plan.
Right, and I think, I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said. That's why I think I was trying to advocate for, even though I know there's more money in the front end, I was trying to advocate for a demo plan that the plans are bid, so that you have an apples to apples comparison. And then if you have to tweak, adjust, value engineer, whatever phrase you want to put on there at the end, once you've awarded the project, then so be it. If there's some savings there to be had, then so be it. And even with those tweaks, adjustments, whatever, then you guys are still approving those as well, then sure. And that's why I said that. I don't, circling back, and I apologize for circling back, I don't know how that we get around the requirement for an RFP or, a request for bid, I should say, with regard to that and to follow that request for bid. I don't know how, if we have any reasonable expectation to have anything that's apples to apples without some sort of parameters on the scope in advance. Now, granted, after that's awarded, then that could be tweaked, et cetera, as I just said, but I don't understand. I'm not saying it's not out there. I just don't understand how there's any other path to this. And I know it's frustrating, and it's frustrating for the city too, especially because this is Plan B. I mean, this is a parallel track plan. So I completely understand that the governing body is not loud about it because it's obviously earmarking dollars for something that really, if all our fingers are crossed that's never needed. I completely understand that. But similar to the people that you're talking to as far as liability aversion, that's where I'm coming from with this comment as well.
I've got to ask one more question, and I have no problem if we can find someone that will create demo plans. It's a little more cost on the city, but I mean, that's a perfectly viable solution. Also, in my experience, it might be better to put out the RFP that has the contractor hiring the plans to be done under him, and then JO would review on behalf of the city. What I've heard you say is, let's go hire the engineer demo plans, then let's go give that to the contractor and say, you got to follow that. And we can do that, but there's a lot more potential for rework that way because the contractor is going to have his means and methods. Do you have any concern if we just bid it, but the contractor has to hire a qualified engineer, and we can provide some names that he could use if he wanted to?
To answer your question as directly as I can, my only concern, I guess, would be is that I'm not sure that we would get a whole lot of proposals for asking contractors to hire engineered planes on their end on the front end without any kind of expectation of necessarily winning the project.
Yeah. Well, no, they wouldn't. Yeah, they would just have a bid from an engineer. They wouldn't actually get the plans until they won the job.
And if that's the case, then I apologize. I misunderstood your scenario. If that's the case, then I think you're back to not having any reasonable expectation of an apples to apples comparison.
If I put out a bid where the contractors know they have to get their engineer to create a demolition plan?
From what I understood you to say, some of the potential scope. Let me see. How can I word this? Some of the potential variables are engineers. You said, hey, it's they might work with different contractors to meet their needs better and what they're able to do and their capabilities better. Maybe is the better phrase. And so then if you're going to do that, and you're not actually going to have plans drawn up, but just, hey, listen, we're gonna ask you to draw a demo plan up, and we're company X, and you're company Y, and they're company Z, and they're all going to different people with regard to these are our capabilities, and they're obviously not actually drawing up plans, but they're just gonna say, yeah, sure, we'll do it for X number of dollars, or Y number of dollars, or Z number of dollars. Then again, you're looking at the very real scenario that you're not gonna have apples to apples.
But this is done every day in the new construction world. We tell a contractor to trench a pipe. he knows he has to get engineered drawings to protect that trench because he's gonna have workers down there. And that's part of his means and methods, and he has engineers he works with to do that work. And his methodology might save him money over another contractor who's got different means and methods, but that's done on every construction project.
Okay. And if that's the case, I mean, if that's the case, and if Brad, what you're saying is that yes, you think there would be a reasonable expectation of having an apples to apples comparison with regard to putting out a request for bid with the contractors, being part of the bid as far as their own engineer plans, then so be it. Then sure.
So I think we'll work with the adjacent cities, come up with how they procure, float that by Rob, make sure he's comfortable with it, and require engineered plans for the demo.
So JO does not make demo plans?
We don't, it does sound strange, we review them, we make choices, he's not wrong, we make choices about liability.
I get it.
We survey, if you look from a strict, like land survey.
Yeah.
From a strict dollars perspective, we shouldn't be in that business. It's so liable, but it's so inherent to the needs of our cities that we do it. This is an area where we've chosen not to enter that. We'll review on behalf of cities and use our engineering judgment. So
Understand. Okay.
Would either Brad or Rob be able to kind of recommend a motion that captures this direction and potentially direct me to work with both of them on the procurement process to meet those
I
needs?
don't think we need a motion. I think it's just about talking to the cities.
Okay.
I don't think we need a motion for it. Is that right,
You can
Rob?
direct me to continue that then.
you guys good with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Everyone but Mike good with me.
God,
Appreciate it.
you think
Thanks,
Thank
Brad.
you're gonna get to leave if we gotta
Thank you,
stay?
Brad.
Come on, Brad.
Well, fun stuff now.
How is it number 3? It says JEO design
And
demo.
conduct a hearing to exceed.
Not the.
Thank you, Brad.
Buddy. I asked that question because number 3 says,
Yeah.
that's why I asked that question.
Like it took me a second to figure it out.
Okay.
Mayor.
All right.
Council, we're gonna go from engineering and demo to budget here in a moment.
Well, I mean, did anybody read number 3?
Yeah,
Design demo.
you just said they didn't do
Demo
the demo plan.
design demo.
That
plan.
was my capture of earlier
Okay.
conversation with them, and so I may
Okay.
have miscaptured.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Hallelujah. We'll pass that one.
Ready, Mayor?
Let's go.
Okay.
Start in with the proposed 2027 budget.
Yes. And council, I'm going to just be honest, what I'm gonna share here is gonna look scary at first. I wanna buffer and say that's not where we hope to end up. First, I wanna introduce our guest. This is John Regier with Lloyd Group. And so John and I will kind of be tag teaming this presentation. I'm gonna set the framework and then John will walk us through where the budget stands at the moment, kind of page by page. I will follow along on the screen and just we'll talk through where we are. What I want to start with saying is that where we are is not where we expect to end up by the time we have a final budget. And so let me share just a little bit more about what's going on. And so council, we've had these conversations many times, but for the past 10 years, Towanda has had a 1% sales tax. A lot of the items that sales tax was intended for are general fund items. And so the way it has been accounted for is basically it comes into the general fund and then helps keep the mill levy lower. The value of that is 170 to 180,000 a year. And that translates to about 18 mills that council hasn't needed to levy because of the sales tax. Nope. And I have an incorrect date up here, but the sales tax actually sunsets in February 2027. It began in 2017. And so council, through conversations this year, has proposed a 1.5% tax that would go specifically to streets and public safety. Now, the way this all translates out, streets and public safety are both general fund expenses, but to honor the integrity of what we're proposing, those funds would only be used for streets and public safety. We would not just put it in the general fund as a slush fund. The anticipated value of that sales tax for the city each year would be about $255,000 to $270,000. Roughly, that doesn't quite cover our proposed spending for streets and law enforcement, especially if we start our own police department. But it gets us a little bit closer. It allows us to progress. Again, if the tax passes, it would only be able to be used for the items on that ballot question. And that's about our integrity to the taxpayers. Now, if the tax proposal fails on August 4th, then you have two options as the council. You can either raise the mill levy significantly to maintain operations at the same level. And with that, we're estimating about 18 mills to sustain current operations. The other option would be to cut costs and services significantly if you don't wish to increase the mill levy. There are options in between, but ultimately anything lower than 18 cuts services and it puts us in a worse position longer term. So as we present the budget tonight, I want to be clear, the mill levy we're presenting is not final. That's really important because a lot of cities, what's proposed is what's passed a couple months down the road. And so what we're proposing tonight is really a precautionary mill levy. It creates a buffer so that council has room to make decisions in the next couple of months about the final budget. And so the reason we're talking about it tonight is that I have to certify your established maximum to the county clerk by next Monday, which is July 20th. So what's going to go to the county clerk is basically a form that establishes this is our high water mark. What we do in the next couple months can come down from that place. And so again, one of the other frameworks we're operating within, and this gets really technical, a lot of it is from the legislature, but if you decide that you want to bring in $1 more than the dollars raised by property tax last year, then you have to vote to exceed the revenue neutral rate. The revenue neutral is not the same mill levy, but it's about dollars and any increase in dollars. And so, as I said, we do tonight have to declare the proposed rate, which is the maximum that we could levy, emphasis on could. And so, so tonight's budget presentation is really about more setting the framework, the parameters, seeing what happens on August 4th with your sales tax, and then workshopping the budget between August 4th and late August when we need to publish to really get it in its final form to say what priorities are we going forward with, what is our actual appetite and threshold for both taxation and spending. And my anticipation is that if the tax passes, it helps us to move forward with streets and public safety. And so council would have the opportunity to bring that levy way back down. So next steps, again, August 4th is the sales tax on the ballot. I will work probably individually to some level with each of you in the weeks following to get feedback, to refine the budget. I would anticipate we'll have conversation at council in August as well. The updated budget must be published at least 10 days prior to the budget hearing. And right now we're planning on that hearing at your September 9th meeting. That's your regular council meeting. And then I have to certify that to the county clerk by October 1st for it to be in place for 2027. So a little bit more about revenue neutral, because the way it's set up, you hear the narrative, government needs to live within its means, and that is absolutely true. But I think, you know, in home budgets, everybody hopes for a raise, hopes for opportunity to advance and have just a little more breathing room. And government is no different. The things that we buy tend to be expensive, like asphalt and equipment. We have payroll, we have utilities, we have fuel, we have things that fluctuate. And so when a city adopts revenue neutral, they are committing to deliver next year's services on this year's same dollars. And so for cities that have tried it, it works for a time. but ultimately a lot eat into their cash reserves. And as John will share, Lloyd Group not only is helping with our budget this year, but just completed our audit, and Towanda does not have healthy cash reserves to eat. So
I feel
it
like
can
you tell us
also,
that every year. Is that just, you just like have that written down, you just repeat that?
It's not part of my normal spiel, to be honest with you. So, I've got my, I've got a script, but we make it match everybody's, but no, definitely something we want to consider having going through this.
yes, I can say roughly once, and I'm still in review of our preliminary audit report. That will go to council once I've reviewed and we're finalized. But we entered the year with roughly $12,000 in our general fund. And so when you think about what it takes to operate a city, that's very, very lean. And so what I would say is that most governments that have adopted revenue neutral, they lose ground over time. And so my encouragement to council, it is your call, your vote, but my encouragement is not to do revenue neutral because it does put us in a place of deficit from a future focus. And so, trying to think if there is anything here that we haven't already covered. And so I'd like to let John go through the budget page by page. Again, I'm going to project it on the screen and show it to anyone viewing online. And then at the end, we will need a roll call vote for council action. And this would be my recommended motion. To levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate and set a hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate for 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 9th, 2026 at City Hall. And those are details that we need to include in that so that the public can be notified of that hearing and have the opportunity to attend and to comment at that time. That's the end of my spiel.
Right.
John, you're up.
I'm up. I can't wait. So I appreciate the opportunity tonight. My name is John Regier. I'm a senior manager with the Lloyd Group. I also help lead our budget team. We do about 60 budgets across the state, ranging anywhere from little cemeteries to townships to, we do, I think, 6 county budgets across the state. So we're busy this time of the year. Apologize, it's not Scott. He was on another meeting, and then we had somebody else somewhere else in the state, and I was responsible for 2 tonight. So unfortunately, you get me and not Scott, so I apologize for that. We're going to go through the budget itself. We're going to go page by page. I'm not going to go line by line. I mean, I can if you would like. I can talk about this for hours, but I'm sure you guys have way better things to do. So we're going to hit the highlights. I'll stop, make some recommendations as we go. As noted, Sarah was talking about, cities and counties adopting the revenue neutral rate. We picked up a county budget last year. They were revenue neutral for 7 years straight. They started this process, based now 8 years ago, when they first went revenue neutral, they had $1 million in their general fund, and they called us with 100,000 because that's just basically how it is. You're getting the same dollars in, but costs are going up. And in the last 8 years, there's been a thing called inflation, unfortunately, that's hit communities hard, especially governments too. They're not exempt to the inflation, so that's not trying to sway you, but those are things that we deal with, and those are conversations that we're having across the state of to stay revenue neutral, to exceed, to increase the mill rate, the whole 9 yards. So that's my preamble for this. So we're going to go through page 1 here is your certificate page. It's basically your 30,000 foot view of your budget for 2027. It goes through your tax levy funds and your non-tax levy funds. It gives that budget authority for expenditures as well as your ad valorem tax for 2027. Right now, we're looking to levy $672,550. We'll hit that again when we get towards the back. The last page has quite a bit more information to cover when we get there. Next page is going to be your allocation of the motor vehicle, recreational vehicle. So every time someone registers a vehicle, pays their property taxes on them, you do get a small portion of that. And that's based upon, we get all that information over from the county, and then it does allocate based upon last year's budgeted ad valorem tax levy. So that's what that page is there. Page 3 is your schedule of transfers. Schedule of transfers is just kind of a more FYI for anyone reading the budget. This does follow the 3-column format that we'll see throughout the rest of the budget. Actual, the things that actually happened in 2025, 26 and 27 are proposed for both of those. Those aren't set in stone then. Those 2 columns are not, because again, this is just what we're estimating and proposing. Should you not make those transfers, there's no statutory violation at that point. Just more FYI. Page 4 and 5 are going to be your debt that you have at this point. Right now, I've just got that Kansas revolving loan on the bottom of page 4, and then a pumper truck on page 5 for your leases. Again, just more for information only. A lot of times what we'll do is we put them on there and then we'll track them through the budget, trace them, and make sure we have the correct payment for the 2 years that we're looking at there. Page 6 is going to be noting if you qualify for the state grant and aid. There's 2 different tests. You do qualify on both of them, so you do receive that state grant and aid.
Sweet.
That's what's the next one. Yippee-ki-yay right there.
That is for the library.
That's for the library, so specifically for the library. Page 7 is when we get into the meat of the operations here. General fund starts us off, again, 3-column format. How it's been for probably 20 plus years from the state level, prior year actual, current year estimate, and budgeted for 2027. We got a lot of these information for those 2 columns, 26 and 27, from staff, specifically Sarah. So we are still working through this process to get it refined, and this is just in draft form as we speak tonight. With that in mind, state budget law does only require you to statutory budget by fund. So technically, it's not a recommendation, but technically you can make one line for all of your expenditures and call it a circus, and that would be a certifiable budget. But we do like to be a little bit more transparent across the cities and give a little bit more information there. So page 1, the top half is going to be your receipts for the 2025 through 2027 year. We get into the bottom half, that's going to be your expenditures. That's going to be a little bit more of a rolled up version. If you go back to 7A, there's a little bit more detail on your expenditures for 25 through 2027. And those will flow into.
I need you to slow down.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, going too fast. I am sorry.
Good.
I'm,
I'll
you
sit
know,
back on 7.
that's totally
Back
fine.
off.
Totally fine. Sorry.
I think that's where he was, 7A.
No, I'm still on top. I do have a question.
Yes,
So
sir.
it says proposed budget year for 2027.
Yes.
That's if we don't raise the mills, or if the 1%, 1.5% tax doesn't pass and we don't raise mills. Is that what that is?
Right now, this budget stands as a 20 mil increase. That's to if the tax doesn't pass and it does and it sunsets.
Now I'm real confused.
No, me too.
You're telling me that, okay, yeah.
So we can, if you want to look at that here, let's skip to the back.
Okay.
Let's talk there a little bit, just so we can get everybody on the same page here. Maybe we're gonna audible off script, so let's see how this goes.
Okay.
All right, so notice the budget hearing, page 16.
Yep.
Got it? Perfect. Okay, so this is what goes in the paper. What this is, again, this is that basic 3-column format. They add an extra column, a couple extra columns in there. We look at 2025 actual, your tax rate for the city was 36.963 mils. That's about 2/3 of the way down, about 4 inches over from the left. That was your tax rate for 2025. 2026, current year that we're in, your tax rate is 43.577. You guys following me?
Yeah.
See where I'm at? Yeah, I can cut away from the podium if you like.
You're right.
I have no idea where you are.
I'm actually right
Down there.
there,
Oh,
and then there.
okay, here we go. We're down here.
There. Sorry, I just
Gotcha. No, that's
okay. Perfect. So this right now, as we've talked about, this is kind of your highest case scenario.
Yeah.
As noted, we have to submit something to this county clerk by July 20th, and that sets our ceiling. So basically what this is where we're at should the sales tax not pass, and then your sales tax sunsets in 2027.
Now,
So this is,
If the sales tax passes, we can go in and refine this, add in the additional sales tax dollars into your general fund, and that will effectively bring your mill levy down
gotcha.
from
Okay.
where we're at right now.
so that number
Okay.
I circled, that would be our proposed budget to work with for the year of 2027
Yes, sir.
with a 20 mil.
Yes, sir. Okay, perfect, right there. So while we're here, we can talk about that. So you got those numbers across the top or bottom, 36, 43, and then 63.577 is where we are levy, or where we're proposing the levy as of this evening. Because again, we have to set the ceiling. Because if that doesn't pass, I know it's hard to stomach. I apologize.
No,
I'm the bearer of bad news, and I will get out of here as fast as I can to make sure that my tires are still
You
good
and me
by the time I
both.
get out of Butler County. So, I'm not gonna tell you which car is mine out there. Anyways,
we wrote your name on it. No.
someone already
the one
did.
we've never seen.
Probably that one. I should not have parked there. I should have parked around the block. But, yeah, the last contractor parked around the block, so I should have figured that out. But please don't slash my tires. There is not a spare in that one. I can't get home.
You have cameras on it, you're good.
That is true.
Nobody will tell.
I'll see it.
Well,
Anyways, we have to have a little fun. I'm sorry. We have to have fun at this time of the year. So anyways, back to this. So that's where we're proposing right now. When we're looking at this, well, we're gonna talk a little bit more here about this budget summary page. We're looking at your valuation. So if you take where we were at with the mill rate, we go down basically 2/3. It starts off with that $9.7 million. That was your valuation in 2025. 2026, it went to $10.2 million, and now we're at 10.5. So you have an increasing valuation over the last 3 years. And what that means is that the value of one mill has also been increasing.
Right.
That's where we get into that revenue neutral rate. There's an inverse relationship between assessed value and your mill rate. So if your valuation goes up, your revenue neutral rate number goes down.
Okay.
To find out how much one mill would, for every mill that you levy, the value of that is your assessed valuation divided by 1,000.
Yeah.
I can't do that math very easily. It's just moving the decimal 3 places to the left. So just move it over to where that first comma is. And so the value of one mill for the city of Towanda is $10,578. That's the estimate based upon where we're at as of, it was basically June 15th is when this come out. So
If I might add for a second, council, I did a little bit of that math, and that would take a home valued at $100,000. If we had to raise 20 mills, it'd be around 250 more for that household. $250
$250
more
A year?
a
a
year.
year. And so again, we hope we don't have to, but that's and so if you're talking about a $200,000 home, you're talking about somewhere in the range of $500 more a year.
what, $60?
Still ain't much.
So that's where we're at when it comes to the mill rate. Your revenue neutral rate is 42.423. And how we get to that is if you levy $1 more than $488,762, you have to do a revenue neutral rate hearing. Right now, we're levying $672,550. You can always go back down to the revenue neutral rate during your budget hearing. You can go back down. You just can't go back up. So again, this is kind of that, you've got a lot of things on the horizon.
Yeah.
So we've got to prepare for those. And all right, I'm
So
sorry.
I guess my question is for the people who are watching now or will be watching, I guess in your expert opinion, it would behoove the citizens of this town to vote on the 1.5% tax so that we don't have to raise their mills and that we don't have to do a
Absolutely.
revenue neutral rate. I mean,
if it was kind of an apples to apples comparison, I'd rather pay it when I pay on sales tax on items as opposed to on the property taxes.
yeah,
That would be that's my personal opinion. That's not a.
I'm just saying
stance.
I've talked to people around town and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then you tell them about the mills and like, I don't even understand what mills are. I don't get any of that. So just for,
I didn't either.
And that's why we spend a lot of time trying to go through that on that back page. When we get towards the end, we try to make sure people understand what that means, what that looks like for the city, and to try to so it makes more sense for governing body in case there are questions that come up throughout the time. So,
Yeah.
So that's where we get to at the end is that summary page. Going back to page 7.
Thanks.
Is that?
oh, we're done. We got it.
I can stop now if you want me to. That's totally up to you guys.
I will
If
say,
there's honestly things you think we need to see, then yes,
Yeah, no,
I have no problem.
It's
going
gonna go through the pages just to see if there's, again, this is a draft budget.
mhm,
Basically what I'm gonna sound like a broken record. We're setting the ceiling tonight, or
Yeah.
prefer to set the ceiling tonight, and then we can always work backwards as we get there. So,
and I would add that a lot of the numbers that are in these middle pages are very temporary. They are numbers that are placeholders, but we will go back and we'll work them. I will work them with you all to get them to better
This
numbers.
is all based off of a 20 mil
Yes.
increase.
and if you notice on page 7, that local sales tax,
Yeah.
that's about a third of the way. You go from 168, we were estimating 166 in 2026, and it goes down to 28.5 because
Right.
it sunsets right now as of February, but you'll get those little bit of bleed out from the end. So that's why we have to pick it up with ad valorem dollars because the dollars aren't there. So if we would put in $250,000 in that column or in that line right there, that completely flips the script.
Right.
And we just know the value of one mill is 10,500.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing the math, that instantly gets us up to where we need to
I
be.
think I was on the
Gotcha.
same boat with them when I saw these down here and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. So
That's why I buffered the way I did when I started.
Good now. I think that's.
You weren't getting my signature.
So that's top half is receipts. There's not a detail page for that because it's pretty straightforward. Bottom half then goes into that page 7A on that the next page, and it kind of gives a little bit more detail of the expenditures by department. As talked about, Sarah noted the part of the sales tax initiative was going to pay for or look to pay for public safety. And so there is some additional items in for your police department, about 2/3 of the way down there, going from 75,000 to 172,000. So, and again, we can always go back and refine that. Decisions can be made and say, hey, we don't need to make that expansion at this point in time. But again, we're presenting as a draft tonight, kind of the wish list situation as well as the estimates of them. So that ends 7A.
Okay.
Now we're going to go rocket speed. I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Nope. The next two are still two tax levy funds. The debt service fund, which is, we're finishing that up and we're going to transfer the rest into the street reserve fund. So there's no levy there. And then the library, I did note from Sarah this afternoon, and I apologize, I haven't been back to my office since 4:15 this morning. So I haven't made the change to this. They actually requested closer to 76,000, I believe. So we'll make that change and get an updated draft, but we'll balance everything out after we get that done between the general fund there. So
67?
76,000.
Yes, they are looking at just a few investments that, I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, but I think they said their insurance went up. Looking at some software that has increased. And so trying to honor, again, within kind of this overarching umbrella, we're trying to honor what they've requested for their part of the levy.
What are we talking about? So
Page 8.
page 8, library. It's at 69 right now.
Okay.
And like I said, I will get that updated probably tomorrow and get that back to you.
Okay.
Page 9 starts your non-tax levy funds. So these are budgeted funds that have budget authority, but they don't require any mill rate taxes. They're funded through other things. Your consolidated streets, you get a little bit of gas tax and county tax from them. So that's how that fund is funded. You'll note on any of these non-tax levy funds that we do budget the unencumbered cash down to 0. That is on purpose for us. So if you see the unencumbered cash, basically halfway through that first page there, you had 13,000, we went to 3,200 and down to 0 in 2027. That's to give you the authority to spend it. That's not saying that you're going to spend all the way down to 0, but in case you do need it, you can have the authority to spend it. I came from the school world. I was finance director in a school district in Sedgwick County for 5 years. And my example is I always would spend it down to 0 because if I had a boiler go out and the kids were cold in the wintertime, I don't want to wait for a budget amendment and a hearing after waiting 10 days in the paper so I can put a boiler in.
Right.
That's why we spend it down to 0, to give you the authority to do it. You're not required to spend it all the way down. You just want the authority to spend it. Just giving you, again, we're setting the ceiling on any of this stuff for your budget authority. So, and you don't want to have a budget violation. That's not a point. That's no fun. So
Budget violation would be even if we have cash on hand, if we spend more than we have the authority to spend.
correct. You're bound by budget statutes and cash basis violations. So,
I don't believe that guy.
cool. I appreciate
Council, as we go through some of these funds, I wanted to make a couple other notes. I've tried not to put a lot of technical details here, but one of the things I've really tried to do in the numbers that I've provided to Lloyd Group is a key thing is looking at how we're balancing some of our compensation between different funds. Our public works crew works across a lot of different funded areas, and we'll get into some of those as we go forward. One of the trends that I've noticed is that we would put a very heavy percentage allocation into funds that had resources, and then in time we wouldn't have resources in that fund anymore. And so as you're looking across the general fund, the street fund, water, sewer, and now trash, I've tried to put, I think, 30% of public works in general fund, water and sewer, and then 5% of that anticipated cost in streets and trash, just to spread it out so that we create more continuity from one budget year to another, rather than depleting a fund and then having to raise sewer rates. And then we deplete water and we have to raise water rates. Another thing I wanted to note is that in this proposed budget, we would need to take action at the end of the year. I'm proposing to close the mayor council fund as a special fund and then do the same thing out of the general fund. So mayor and council would still have the ability to do some of their like special community impact items. They would still be funded for it, but it wouldn't be a special fund set aside and accounted for separately. Similarly, I'm proposing that we would close the community center fund and do the same, manage it out of the general fund. I think the reason that that one has been a special fund is because there is revenue, but the revenue doesn't come anywhere close to the cost. And so my thought was if we could have 2 fewer designated budgets while still honoring everything we're already doing, it would simplify things just a little bit more. And I'm glad to answer any questions on that too.
What is it gonna help by getting rid of the mayor council fund?
It would still exist. It just wouldn't be, basically, once you have a special fund and funds are designated, they're more restricted. So, for example,
Well, they should be, shouldn't they?
Right.
That one
keep it-
specifically, we've kept very restricted.
okay,
Because that's something that we, in the past, I haven't been here for like a Christmas, stuff like that, but I know that's something that we like to use for Christmas or
mhm.
donating to schools, stuff like that. I think that's a good
And
thing.
so the way
other one,
the way that one operates currently is at the beginning of the year, we reload it to $3,500,
Right.
whatever that difference is. And then that money, there's a little more accounting procedure, a little bit like it creates barriers within your funds on hand. So those are not funds that are considered part of any availability of cash. So my intent in the budget is to preserve that space. And in fact, there's a little more flexibility if it lives in the general fund, but to maybe not run it as a special fund with extra accounting
So
and things like
you would
that.
have it still have its own line number or
Yes.
line.
Have its own line item.
Yeah, line.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what I'm actually
So we
working
still
for
restrict it.
is a mayor council fund
Okay.
that would account for things like
Take over.
supplies, streaming services, and then most importantly, the work that you're able to do through city donations.
So we can still restrict it. the
And
way
it
we
has to
want
be
to.
approved.
It just has to be a line item instead of the special thing that
Okay.
sits out here.
Because basically
Nobody
right now it's funded through the general fund.
Right.
Making a transfer, to put it into a separate fund where
Right.
you can make a line item, you say $3,500, you know that's what you have to spend each year.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it would be the same, but it would just be a little bit less accounting procedure and a little more fluid if council says, hey, there's extra in the budget and there's extra need in the community. We're going to choose to exceed that 3,500 in a year.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So-
I'm fine with that.
I would recommend those actions at the end of the year, but I don't want to surprise anybody
Nah.
by not saying something today.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What was the other one?
It was the community center fund.
Oh, yeah.
And so again,
We gain
we,
money, but more
we
goes out
have
than comes in.
the library facility, we have the museum facility, the senior center facility, and all of those are run out of the general fund. The community center is the only one that has a special fund.
Okay.
And so my recommendation would be bring it back in the general fund. That way we don't have to transfer money in to do the roof. We just take care of it the same as we do our other buildings.
Okay, cool.
And so thank you for letting me
No
interject.
worries,
I
I appreciate
want to
that.
keep council updated on those particular types of things in real time. It gets a little technical, really nerdy, but I think I'm working toward making operations flow as smoothly as possible. Fewer line items for you have to come through every time you do budget.
So that's page 9 was your consolidated streets and fire rescue. Page 10 is your community center, which we are showing that closing and then pulling back into the general fund at the end of 2026. And then your special parks and rec fund, which doesn't have any activity.
Right.
And then we get into page 11. I can go quicker if you'd like me
I
to.
like it.
All right, we'll move as we go. Cemetery, you get some fees in for there. And then again, we're budgeting these down to 0. Then we get into your utility funds. We start with the refuse utility. And where that's sitting. Yes, sir.
Why are the numbers so different from proposed 2027 versus the past 2 years?
Remember, that's if you have the mill increase.
Oh,
No, this is a non-tax levy fund. So this is to just
So-
spend it down to 0. It's just to get you the authority.
Would you point me to the numbers you're looking at? I'd be glad to share.
Cemetery?
Page
Yeah,
11.
page 11 top.
So cemetery, I actually asked John the same question. I was like, So the cemetery, we function as the front office for the cemetery for plot sales. And so we need budget authority to sell the plots and then distribute the proceeds to the township. Last year, before I was here, I think we were pushing awful close to a $10,000 line item. I think there were $7,000 or $8,000 in sales. And so it looks like in the current year's budget that was increased to 20,000, again, just to allow the budget authority. So when John sent the budget back to me, I said, why are we at 38,570? And ultimately that's where he's saying, if we have like,
Let's say you sell for fun. Let's say you sell $40,000 worth of cemetery plots. A lot of people want to get buried in Towanda Cemetery next year. Then you only have the authority to transfer 38,570. So that's why we've upped it a little bit and given that authority to be able to make that transfer in case you have a big influx. Now, we could always bring it back down. Happy to do that. That's not, again, this is not a tax levy fund, so we can mess with the numbers.
It doesn't change anything for us.
It doesn't change anything. You just have the authority to do it.
You could put 400,000 in there and it'd do the same
You
thing.
could sell out, buy a whole new plot of land and sell that one out too, and for fun. So
and so if we rolled it back,
Taking $400,000.
if we rolled it back to 20 and by some chance, we were edging up against it, we would need to do a budget amendment so that we didn't have, again, using
Don't wanna do
technical
that.
terms, a cash basis violation, because obviously or a budget violation. We would have the cash basis, we would have the cash on hand to transfer to the township, but we would not have the budget authority. And so we would have, so John's trying to help buffer us against having to do budget amendments in the future.
I'm not a huge budget fan.
I'm not either.
So I
Very
tried.
specific number.
Well, we just get it down to 0. So again, we can always adjust it should you see fit. Refuge starts your utility fund at the bottom of page 11. Again, same concept, 3 years, and then we do budget that down to 0 to give the authority to spend it in that refuse fund. Then we get page 12 is your water utility fund. This one, we kind of talked a little bit earlier about the resources. As you noted, we do start the year with a negative cash balance. We actually ended the year in 25 with a negative cash balance. So getting that back right side up would be a goal for this council and for the city to get that worked out, moving things around as we go. So all those numbers we brought in from Sarah and her team here to get that back down to a manageable number there.
Okay.
Page 13 is your sewer utility fund. Again, same concept, 3 columns, non-tax levy. So we're just setting the authority and your ceiling for spending for 2027 in that far right column. Page 14 and 15 are your non-budget funds. These are our favorite funds in the entire budget. All you do is you should report the actual that happened in 2025. There's no other thinking required at that point. So this is just more for information only. Again, they're non-budgeted funds, so it's just for somebody who is reading the budget to read of what happened in that year that has passed. So back to page 16. We are doing the notice of budget hearing, and right now we are exceeding revenue neutral rates. This is what would go in the paper, required to have it in 10 days ahead of time of your hearing. And that's 10 calendar days, not 10 business days. So it needs to be in by, I would assume, August 31st or before, whenever your paper.
We'll aim a little before just to be safe.
Correct. You can put it in whenever you want, to be honest. So again, we are looking at that. We kind of talked about the mill rates, where it's at, your assessed valuation, the value of 1 mil, the amount that you're levying. Again, we went, this budget does have that increase. Last year you levied 448,000. This year we're at 672. Again, that's due to the sales tax falling off. With that, I will finally stop talking and I will stand for any questions you may have.
I think you did a great job explaining them.
Yes,
thank you.
and at a great speed too. Sarah, the question, did you say if we do have to do the mills by 20, that you said it increases sales tax or property tax by $250 per 100,000 per year?
Roughly, yes.
On the 20, it's not just one, that's for the full,
Mhm.
okay.
So if, the rough way to do the math is that for $100,000 home, or basically it's about $11.50 per 100,000 value. I'm trying to make sure I'm
Per mill, per 100,000.
Yeah, so if you've got $1,000 in value, your taxes would be $1,150.
Yeah.
So if you 100,000, you know, it's going to be 1,500. And wait, that's not right. That I don't do mental math that well sometimes. But yeah, and I'm glad to put those calculations back out to council as well as to the public on kind of how that math breaks down. So if somebody knows their home's
I think that'd be a
value,
good thing, because I've
Yeah.
heard some people say they're not sure about the 1%, 1.5%
For
tax. So
sure.
I think it'd be like, hey, this is what you stand to get if you vote
Yeah.
on the 1.5% tax. If you don't,
mhm.
this is what we have to raise the mills to. By raising the
And-
mills, this is what you would end up spending per year. So
And
I
then
think just-
third option is that you say we don't want to raise the mills if it doesn't pass, and we look at how do we cut services, but that does not address public concerns like law enforcement and roads, and
Mhm.
so we actually make negative progress on those.
No, we're not with one. Not doing it.
But it always has to be stated as an option.
Correct.
I can't tell you your only options are increase.
You'll own it. Can.
So $100,000 house is $250.
Dollars
Um,
a year.
Let me run that
And it-
calculation for you real quick. And that's
$2,000
increase.
house is $500
That would be the
Good stuff.
increase from this.
from the mills, yes. Mhm.
South of 1,000.
And I have comments from online that said you've done very well explaining.
People find
My boss is watching. Just kidding.
They always are. I just know how.
Any other questions, discussion?
She's doing the calculator down there, Mayor.
Are you still doing the calculator? What are you calculating?
I could do the calculator and post it on social media. I could share it out with you all, and just that way I'm making sure I'm getting my numbers correct.
Sure.
The more
You on a
the
motion?
community knows.
Yes.
You what?
Here for a motion?
It's got you on.
I'm not, but I'm gonna do it.
So I am glad to get you that motion verbiage back up here.
I got it right here. I got it. I think. Same one, ain't it?
Let me make sure it's the same one.
I hope so.
I try, but I am not always perfect on everything.
I can't see the TV though.
Give me a second. I'll make it bigger. As soon as I find my cursor there. It's hiding from me.
That's my favorite slide.
Questions?
Yep. So is end.
Let's try this again. We're gonna have to go through a few slides, but I will get that motion back up for you.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay. And so this is the recommended motion. Again, it does need to be a roll call vote for this
Same
one.
one. I got this.
You'll do this again when you have your budget hearing in the revenue neutral rate here. We'll send out the script, the kind of the process, because it is a little confusing. It's really hard to make sure we get everything in the right order. And if you enjoy Board of Tax Appeals hearings like I do, you get to see when people don't follow the exact script or maybe miss a word or two. So we will provide you with a script and just a process and make sure. So
Yeah, I'll make a motion to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate and set a hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate for 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 9th, 2026 at City Hall.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Okay, Mike Hayes,
My case can't vote.
Jennifer Watkins. I'm sorry.
Got distracted.
Yes. Chris Hunt,
Get out
Yes.
of here.
Kit Williams.
Yes.
Drew Schultz,
Yes.
Angel Ramsey.
Yes.
And so council, I will certify that to the county clerk by the end of this week, ahead of the due date on July 20th. And then we will see what happens with the sales tax. We'll work through August to really refine, to look at council priorities and to get a budget that everybody hopefully is comfortable with.
At this point, we're going to take a brief recess. Before we go into an executive session, we have to make sure that all the cameras are cut off and the audio going out into the public before the executive session. So before we make that motion, everybody can stay and visit for a little bit if they want to, but we are going to recess the meeting.
Thank you very much.
What?
Yeah.